Let's start today's episode.
Welcome back, Period Besties. We are so excited to have Maria here with us today, talking to us all about hormone testing. And we know there's so much information out there, especially on social media. And we just want to give you the download on everything so you can make the best decision for yourself next time you're with your doctor or with somebody like Maria. So Maria, thank you so much for being here.
Yes, absolutely. I'm excited to be here. I'm super excited to be here and to help people really get a grasp on their hormones and what's going on.
Yes. I love it. Okay, so let's just jump in because let's compare tests. I mean, we've got the Dutch out there. There's a Zoomer, there's Bloodwork. I feel like every time I'm looking, there's more information that we can gather through different testing. It's really interesting to watch. So
yeah.
Can you just talk to us about what you're experiencing in your practice and what tests we should be looking for versus not paying for?
Yeah, 100%. So in practice, and I'm just going to start with mainly my women. I have a lot of women that come in that know, I mean, innately, they know they're in a hormone imbalance and they're going to their PCP. They might get a few labs done, but everything looks normal, right? And sometimes they're paying out of pocket for this. It can be like $300. Which can be frustrating because it's only looking at your main hormones, to say like these main ones, your progesterone, your testosterone, your estrogen, pretty much that's it. But what it's not looking at is your metabolites. And that's what's really important. We want to get to the root cause of what's going on. We want to see why is there a kink in the hose here? Why isn't something not being processed in the liver properly and it's causing this hormone imbalance? You will not see that on blood labs most of the time. It's very rare. Sometimes I'll see a ratio that's a little bit off, but it is rare for me to see blood labs that look abnormal in terms of hormones. So we like to look at the metabolites. Those metabolites are really, really important. And we also want to look at cortisol. I believe cortisol, there's 4 things. I think cortisol is one of the biggest drivers of hormone imbalance. So in terms of testing, I love the Hormone Zoomer. That is the gold standard. I would have said the Dutch a few years ago, but the Hormone Zoomer is newer. It's testing over 60 different hormones, and it's testing your adrenal hormones as well. So sex hormones, adrenal hormones. We're looking at cortisol, some bone health markers, oxidative stress, but then we're going a next level up and we're looking at endocrine disruptors. So we're looking at toxins in your body, like BPA, right? Your plastics, which by the way, BPA was initially invented to be birth control. It was used as birth control initially in the 1930s. So really important to see if that is in your body, which a lot of times I find that really high. We need to get that out. Otherwise, hormones are going to be off. We look at atrazine. I don't know. Are you guys familiar with atrazine as a toxin?
It has come across my desk once or twice.
It has? Okay. So I have seen it. I've seen it on the labs. And atrazine is a pesticide that has shown to turn male frogs into female frogs. And that is something we can see. If you have elevated levels of atrazine, I've seen this in my men, like military men. So I don't know if there's like the water. It's really interesting, which is going to be really high in estrogen. Triclosan, so that's like hand sanitizers. There's a bunch of different plastics and pesticides that we're looking at. Glyphosate, a huge one that we look at. Most people are familiar with glyphosate today. So again, we're looking, it's like the tree. We're not just looking at the tree. We're looking at the roots. We are looking at everything underneath of it and how to support it so you can optimize your hormones and feel and be the best version of yourself. So it's worth it. Out-of-pocket labs, if you're getting hormone testing, can be like $200 to $300 for blood labs. It's disappointing a lot of times. I feel bad. These people, we were just talking about it. It's like they feel gaslit because they're like, I know I'm in an imbalance, but my doctor's saying everything's normal. Yet their cycled period is 68 days apart, right? It's not normal.
That's exactly what happened to me. My doctor ran my blood work, and because I was like, I've had 2 almost 50-day periods. I'm not ovulating. I ovulated 3 times last year, and she was like, well, let's do your blood work and we'll do some other things as well, a couple extra things. And everything came back normal. She's like, well, I would say that you're not even in perimenopause yet. This is perfect blood work. And I was like, I ovulated 3 times last year. I had a 49-day cycle. There is no way on this green planet that I am not in perimenopause yet. And then when I started doing the Mira testing,
Uh-huh.
My estrogen was flatlined. My progesterone was flatlined. I was like, I'm obviously in perimenopause,
Yeah.
but that blood work
Yes.
came back perfect,
Right.
perfectly
I know.
fine.
I know. It is so crazy. And it's so funny because functional labs, they're not covered by insurance. It's so unfortunate because it's so, in my professional opinion, it is so much more informative and we can truly heal. I mean, the body is innately meant to heal, it is designed to heal. We just have to give it the tools to do so. And it can be hard to figure that out without testing. I try to go a lot by symptoms, but I will say HSA now does cover this. So if you have HSA, cover it. I also tell people if you're about to spend $300 on blood labs and you're going to get nothing from it, go $200 more. Do this. It is going to be worth your weight in gold. We're going to heal your body super quick. A year, even like 2 months, 3 months, a year from now, you are going to be a new person. It is worth it. I find that people that don't do the testing, sometimes they start spending money on all of these supplements
Mhm.
and other things too. And it might be the opposite of what they need. And or even HRT. I don't know how you guys feel about that. I'm not on board with it quite yet. I think it can be useful in some, but I think you always have to have that foundation before doing anything. So we need to build upon that really, really healthy foundation. And then we can add in some other things I think would be okay. But yeah, it's been really, really helpful for a lot of my clients, even the men. Which do you guys test for hormones? Like, do you guys see? I don't know if you guys test for them, but I'm seeing really low levels of testosterone right now, men and women. I mean, and young men, like in their 30s.
Oh yeah.
And so, and
Yeah.
I think it's tough and I think it's hindering society. I mean, one of the things I talk about with low testosterone is then you start to see really low motivation, right? Which can be hard, and then it puts you in a cycle where you're sluggish and then it kind of just keeps your testosterone stays low. A lot of times when I look at this, we're optimizing estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, but cortisol too. That's a big one.
Yeah. Talk to us about cortisol a little bit more. Is that in the Hormone Zoomer or is that a separate test?
Yes.
Okay.
It is in the hormones, so it's included. And it's like you have 16 different levels that we're looking at. So we're looking at morning and night, and you do it a couple times. So it's saliva. So I've seen a lot of blood cortisols. Again, a lot of times those look normal and it's only testing it one time a day. And your cortisol patterns are all over, like depending on the time of the day. So what's really beautiful about this testing is you're doing it a couple times within the hour. And so you're seeing your morning cortisol, you're seeing, does it spike within 30 minutes? Like, are you having a stress response within 30 minutes of waking up? That's going to be problematic. So cortisol really, like cortisol, insulin resistance, gut health, and toxins, I'd say those are the four major drivers of hormone imbalance. And I would say Epstein-Barr virus, I kind of throw in there too a little bit, but those are kind of the main ones. With cortisol, what happens? Your body is in a state of fight or flight. And at this point, everybody has heard of that, right? But what it means is that your body is, it's made to survive. And so it thinks it's like responding to danger. And it takes all this blood that's circulating your organs beautifully and it pumps it to your hands and feet because it thinks you need to run. And then your cortisol goes up because now you wants your body to conserve energy, thinking that we need to utilize this. It starts storing fat, right? And you're just in this really bad state. And by the way, it also starts pumping out your hunger hormone. So now you're hungry. It's just a mess, right? And so you're starting to gain weight in the mid belly. You feel chaotic. You have all these stress hormones going on. Then your adrenals get really messed up, which any of us that are in perimenopause, most people after the age of 35, now your adrenals are what's really responsible for your hormones. It shifts from ovaries to adrenals. So it's really that cortisol is huge. I'm seeing it in my 30-year-olds, my women. And how I know this is I'm seeing that A1C, your insulin, like how your blood sugars, I'm seeing them slightly elevated in that pre-diabetic range. In my healthy 30 to 35-year-old women, they're stressed out. And a lot of them are working from home too, but on computers all day. It's just really, the burnout is very real, I think, in this like technology innate world that we're in right now. But a lot of times, if we can first, which can be the hardest one, balance cortisol, we can start to see hormones regulate a little bit better. and get
Oh,
out of that fight or flight.
definitely. I feel like I wish that I had tested my cortisol in my 20s so I could
Mhm.
compare.
Right?
I feel like that was when everything just started going a little crazy in my with my hormones. Like I was living in New York City, I was
Yeah.
so stressed out, just
Hmm.
everything, and being too young to figure out how to manage the stress in a healthy way. Where
Sure.
now I look
Yeah.
back, I'm like, now I'm feeling those years of stress in my body, but I
Yeah.
really wonder what was going on. Like nobody was
Yeah.
talking about saliva cortisol testing
No,
back in
no,
the day.
nobody. When when I work with clients and I'll be like, okay, well, when did your symptoms first start? It'll be like law school. It's my doctorate. You know, there's a lot of things that we look in, but stress. Stress also ruins your gut. The two things that I believe ruin the gut the most, which again is really important for hormone health because everything gets recycled through the gut, liver, but glyphosate, which is the pesticide, destroys the gut 100%. But stress, I think they equally hinder the gut. Think about if you're stressed, or some people, like if they're emotional, your belly starts to hurt. We'll see it in kids a lot. Just that factor right there. But when I had mentioned how your blood, the circulation is supposed to be around your organs, and during fight or flight, it pushes to extremities, you're not getting that blood flow to your gut. So everything starts breaking down. It's like eroding because it's not getting that support anymore. And now you have leaky gut, right? So now you have all these toxins going through the gut, crossing that blood brain barrier. It's another one of those, this hurt this, and it just continues to pile on. So cortisol impacting not just your hormones, your hunger, and your storage of fat, but also now your gut health, which is going to have a cascade effect negatively and on the hormones again. It's like this vicious cycle, right? Yeah, there's those little pinpoints, but that's why this testing is so wonderful. Also, the other thing with cortisol, this is going to look at melatonin too. So, melatonin and cortisol tend to have an inverse relationship. This is really important. So, if cortisol is high, that means your melatonin is low. Melatonin, I look at as a super antioxidant. It is. When you have adequate, good levels of melatonin, you're getting good sleep, and that's when your body heals. Our body heals in a state when we have a high state of melatonin. So now, if your cortisol is high and your melatonin's low, you're never getting that proper healing overnight, and then you're not sleeping well. I think the statistic is like one night of bad sleep reduces testosterone by 16%. So, like, think about all the moms, like new moms, stressed out, partying, any of those things that are impacting your sleep. You just took a major hit on your testosterone, which
Yeah.
is already probably low because we live in a society of low testosterone to begin with right now, at least today. It didn't used to be that way, but yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's nuts. My OBGYN was saying that she's looking forward to testosterone being included in women's hormone therapy in the next. She's like, I think it's coming quick. So,
It really needs to be. I
yeah.
really, I really do think it should be. It's so impactful. I mean, a lot, if we see low testosterone, that's where we see that low motivation. We see excess weight gain, and then we can't put on muscle mass. Those are all things that are important, right?
Yeah.
And the higher the muscle mass we have, there's a fine balance, but then our metabolic rate is higher. So it's like we want the muscle because I think everybody wants to burn energy at a resting rate at a really high rate, right? And we need muscles to do that. Yeah, I think testosterone is equally important for men and women. I really, really do. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, from what I'm hearing, maybe obviously you want to test if you're getting symptoms, right? But should
Mhm.
we go out there and just say, hey, I'm in my 20s, just let me get a baseline read?
I think a baseline read is always good. I love a baseline. I love always being able to compare to some other time in your life and be like, at one point you were here, right? I think it's always good. I think that for people that for some one reason or another can't do the testing, I'd say, well, why don't you start with modifying lifestyle factors, okay? And if you're still feeling something is wrong, then go get the testing and spend the money. Sometimes it really depends. Like if we're looking at spending money on one thing or another and it's coming down to groceries or testing, I want you to go get those healthy groceries. I want you to spend money on, if it could be like maybe a gym membership if that's what you need, or it's having meal deliveries, or you're in the stage of life where you can't cook a lot, so you're having another service where you're picking up food from. That could be better money spent. Okay, because the whole goal is that foundation. So it kind of depends on what people are willing to do. But if you had to choose one or the other, I'm almost like, let's do foundation. Like I can tell you basics of what to do to optimize your hormone. Of course, everybody's different, but I'd start there. And then if you still need to find out more, then go ahead and spend the money. And at that point, we might have a better picture too. But it is tough.
That's a good question, though. Like, as you were speaking there, I was thinking, so what is the best budget test? If things are wonky and you feel like you're doing things right, but money is tight, is there one that you would say, just do this one? It's a budget, but it'll give you a little insight.
That is a really good question. I mean, this is what if a budget is an issue, I say, if you have insurance, just go get the baseline blood labs. Okay. Let's see. I will try, like, I will look at it with a microscope. I'm going to look at ratios. A lot of the doctors, they are just kind of looking at and sometimes they're not even testing at the right time too, which is really important because for women, we are on a 28-day cycle technically. So it depends when you're testing, that part's really important. So sometimes if they test it in the wrong phase, I'm like, I actually need you to go back and I would see if you can retest that. But I would start there. If you have insurance and you can get it, and I would sometimes to get insurance to cover it, you've got to be really loud about your symptoms because they can mark it. Okay. And sometimes as women, I feel like we're a little bit shy and we're like, oh, I don't know. But like thyroid, which is hormones and can cause a big hormone imbalance, I'm like, scream those symptoms. Do you feel like you're having hair loss? Do you feel brain fog? Are your hands and feet cold? They're like, sometimes. I'm like, say that because they can mark it and we can get insurance to cover that lab for you. Speaking of thyroid, I love testing the thyroid. So I would add that to a hormone panel. I'd be like, go get your baseline hormones and ask for a thyroid panel too. Name some of those symptoms that a lot of women are experiencing, and then we can at least go from there. I love seeing the labs. I think people do too from a functional side and seeing those toxins that are burdening them and feeling justified that their cortisol really is insane. But symptoms are really beneficial, especially if you're cycle tracking. And a lot of times we can go by symptom reduction and what we're doing to help with that. Yeah. So there's definitely budget savvy ways that we can optimize our hormones.
I have a question for you that I hear from so many of our clients and personally when I go to the doctors, and they're only, now that I'm in perimenopause, my OB only wants to go with my symptoms. She does not want to test anything. And I keep pushing testing. Yeah. So I've also been doing the mirror and I definitely want to try the Hormone Zoomer, but I'm curious to hear how you can help. I know you can just order labs anyway, so you don't even have to go that route, but are you hearing that too? And how are you supporting your clients and helping them really request something, but not getting that back? There's that frustration happening everywhere.
So this is where I don't love that. If you're not going to test, you cannot add in an artificial hormone. That's how I strongly feel, because what a lot of doctors will do, and I love doctors, not knocking them, but what they'll do is, oh, you're in perimenopause, your estrogen must be plummeting. Let's add in estrogen or progesterone, right? But when I test, it is and this is, I have somebody post hysterectomy, we tested them, they were in complete estrogen dominance, complete mid 40s, which what we see and why this is important, perimenopause, what happens is estrogen, it kind of goes up and down, but then it starts to decline. And that's where some of our symptoms are coming from, or we think. But in today's world, I think it's a lot different because we have all of these endocrine disruptors that are present. And also the other thing is, if you're overweight or obese, testosterone actually through a process called aromatase converts to estrogen through those fat cells. So you can't just throw estrogen. What if you already have a high estrogen and now we're throwing more estrogen? Well, now we're creating a major imbalance and symptoms get worse. This is where HRT, I think it can be really beautiful for some, but I think it can also hinder a lot of people if you're not constantly testing, because it's such, hormones are like, there has to be in sync. It's like a symphony. If one thing's off, it throws everything else off. And so you really need everything to work together, and you can't just put a Band-Aid on it. okay, eventually it's going to spill out. So if you're considering adding in hormones from an artificial standpoint, which again, I think could be beneficial, you have to test. 100% have to test. And tell the doctor, I would just be like, there's a family history of cancer, bring that up, a hormonal cancer. If you have a friend, you could even say on this podcast, well, I heard that somebody in their mid 40s, perimenopause, and their estrogen was sky high, which actually was really detrimental to their health. Okay. So I think you have to say there's no reason that they shouldn't test. You have to test that route.
Yeah, I'm just always so surprised. I'm like, I will pay.
Yeah. If someone's gonna, I mean, I think sometimes what will happen is they might not know how to read them, so they don't feel comfortable with ordering them. So one thing you could say is, can you order them? I'm fine. I have somebody else that can read them. I don't need you to read them. Because if somebody is expecting, oh, I have to run these and I have to read them, but I don't feel comfortable with reading these labs, that's different. Obviously, like an OBGYN should be able to, but a PCP, I have PCPs that will run them and they're like, I'm not going to read them, but I'll run them. And so I'm like, yeah, just bring them to me. No biggie. Okay. So I think we spend such an astronomical amount. I think we talked about this on insurance. We got to utilize it the best of our abilities. Right. And yeah, I think the only way you don't have to go the testing route and we go based on symptoms is when I'm talking, okay, we're going to make some dietary, some lifestyle foundational modifications. And that's okay because we're not adding in anything artificial that's good. What we should just see is gradual improvement from that standpoint.
And especially when we're talking women in their 20s, 30s, 40s, until they're really into the end of perimenopause, the anemia, iron deficiency, thyroid issues, autoimmune issues, like all of these things come up. And often when you go into a PCP, they're like, well, I'm going to recommend you to an OBGYN or something. And then they're like, well, we'll just put you on birth control. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, but there's like 10
Ooh.
steps before that, right? Like it's
Yeah.
not even necessarily perimenopause for a lot of
Right.
women. They're in their 20s and feeling like, God, something is off, something is wrong. And we're seeing
Yeah.
such high rates of thyroid, autoimmune, all that stuff that it's like, there's a lot of testing we need to do and
Well,
hormones.
I love that you brought up thyroid and birth control because there are some really good studies out there that are showing if you have been on birth control for 10 plus years, your likelihood of having an autoimmune condition associated with your thyroid, like Hashimoto's, goes up 200%. I think it's like 271%.
Yeah.
I mean, that is insane because essentially what birth control is doing, one, it's your hormones are out of whack. If anybody was on birth control in their 20s, that is why you're struggling with perimenopause now. Okay. That could be a big reason. The other thing is the birth control often depletes B vitamins, right? Selenium, iodine could even, but really your B vitamins, I'm like B vitamin, selenium. Those are things that optimize your thyroid. So those are things that help with T4, T3 conversion. And if you're not getting those and now your body's depleted of those for 10 plus years, well, guess what? Yeah, your thyroid's burnt out and now you have an autoimmune condition. So that's one of those root cause things like, oh, if I have somebody I'm working with that was on birth control and they have a thyroid issue, it's like, we're going that route. We're going to optimize the thyroid and some other things too. But a lot of times that's where I'm going to focus on. And the reason it reminds me of adrenals, all the rage is adrenals, but for good reason, because I think I mentioned earlier here, but perimenopause, you're shifting from creating estrogen and testosterone from your ovaries to your adrenals. So, and your adrenals are adrenals are really important. That's like blood sugar regulation, blood pressure, stability, cortisol. So I tell people you're the adrenals and your ovaries are the assistant. You're having an easy day, the ovaries go away, not a big deal. But if life is hard, every day's hard, and then you're like getting all this paperwork and then the ovaries are like, bye, your adrenals get really, really burnt out. And now your cortisol shoots up. You might start to have blood pressure issues. You certainly will have insulin resistance, which is the second worst thing I think for hormones. So I would say, I think that's one of the I'd say cortisol, insulin resistance are kind of the top two we focus on. Toxins with that, and that includes the pesticides, glyphosate's a big one, and then your gut health. So lots of things to look at with the hormones.
Yeah, it's all connected.
it is.
So we thought it'd be really fun to do some case studies with you, sharing some common symptoms and seeing what tests you might recommend and like what lifestyle
Oh,
tips you
okay.
might recommend.
Okay. Yes.
So the first one is a woman in her early 30s.
Okay.
She's really cranky, moody, exhausted. So what testing, well, where would you start? Would you start with testing? What would you recommend? And what type of protocol based on her symptoms and or testing, however you want to take the case study?
Yeah. Does she have kids or does she not have kids?
Ooh, let's say she has a kid.
She has one kid. Okay, so she's gone through pregnancy, postpartum. Here's the thing. There's never one size fits all. It's very nuanced. I'm going to look at everything. I'm looking at her history. I might look at do you have a history of mono, like Epstein-Barr? Does anybody in your family have a history of thyroid issues? I look at exposures. I posted about this today. I look at maternal exposures a lot. Grandma, where did you grow up? Then I look at her gut. Like, how are your bowels? I mean, if they're not daily, that's a problem. Those are the things I'm looking at to decide what testing. My 3 favorite tests, I like the total toxin test because that one's testing for mycotoxins, which is mold. That could be a big issue. Environmental toxins like your pesticides and plastics. And then we're also looking at heavy metals. So that's one that I'm thinking, oh, do we need to test for this? Have you had high exposure to mold or something like that? Or I work with a lot of people with thyroid issues in this area and the Mecklenburg area. So sometimes I'll think of that toxin wise. But if it's more GI stuff like, oh, I've had IBS, bowel issues, then I'm thinking, oh, you're depleted. One, you're not absorbing nutrients. Your liver's probably sluggish. Let's test that first because if your gut's not working properly, which will throw off the hormones, that might be a good place to start. The gut testing, the gut zoomer is going to show me, it will show me pathogenic issues like streptococcus. It will show me parasites. It will show me how well your liver, your pancreas is working. Are you absorbing nutrients? Are you not? It will show me if you have leaky gut. So those are all things that I like to look at as well. And then the hormone one is more, I'll be asking more questions about your cycle. So is it irregular? Breast tenderness, when is the mood crankiness happening? There's a little bit of normalcy like right before our cycle, but if it's now starting to happen mid-cycle and it's becoming very high and low, that's problematic, so there's a lot of factors I would have to look at. For her, I don't know her history. She probably feels like it's hormones. I'd be probably wanting to check gut stuff. Like I feel like a lot of times like in the 30s I'm more apt to check gut or toxins because a lot of times that's what hindering your hormones at that aspect of you're not quite in perimenopause yet. Yeah. Perimenopause is more 35 and after right now. But do I think that because of all of our endocrine disruptors that we're exposed to, is it potentially happening earlier? I do. So I'd probably focus there and that's solely based on age, unless there were some really irregular cycles going on, heavy periods, like no period, something like that was happening. And she had a history of that too. So that's kind of where I would go. I'd probably go the other 2 tests on that one.
Okay, let's dive in before we do another case study. Let's talk more about toxins because you keep bringing this up, which is so important. I saw your story today as well on Instagram. And depending on where you live and depending on family history, what are you noticing the most with symptoms? And then when you're testing, and then how do you actually help people eliminate plastic from the body, right? Like, so interesting.
These are really good questions. So I work with a lot of children. That's really my favorite in terms of looking at toxins because their burden tends to be higher when I'm testing these little bodied, and it's a great test because it's just urine, so it's not invasive, and it tells us a lot. And children, they don't have these outlying stressors, right? Say this child that has some sensory issues or maybe some erratic behaviors or something, and we see that they have this high toxin burden. We start to remove these toxins through both, really, it depends on the child, but little gentle detox protocols, and then also through removing the sources of those. And we start to see this shift in that child from, they still have the same beautiful personality, but they're happier. So a lot of them will see them be more lovable. They don't feel stressed out. And what's really beautiful about that is I see whole family shift into like happier, because it's really, I don't think anybody understands how stressful it can be when a child is hard. Like you have these everyday stressors, but that toxin burden is how we work with that. I do the same thing with people, which is interesting. I talked about this today. When I test whole families, mom and child almost always align in their toxin burden. So the same toxins will pull, not necessarily for dad, but mom and child do. So sometimes at this point, I'm like, well, we could just test one and that kind of indicates. But what the levels that I do see a lot of glyphosate. I'm kind of seeing that come down through, I think, awareness. And I have a lot of like really healthy clients that come in. Atrazine, I've seen a lot of, pesticides that we're like spraying on the lawns. That one's coming up a lot. I can check for Gen X. I definitely see that when we do. It used to be an add-on. I think they just incorporate it in the actual profile now. So if that's the case, now BPA, I almost always see elevated. That's plastics. And as I mentioned earlier, BPA was initially invented as birth control in the 1930s. That is what BPA was used for. What happened is I think another drug or something came out, maybe like DES came out in the 1940s. It was more profitable. It was better. Ended up not working. I think there were some side effects in terms of birthing and stuff. So they got rid of that eventually. But BPA found out, we can make plastic out of this. And that's what they did. So in the 1940s, they started making plastic out of BPA, and that became really common. Now it's very common, but it is literally birth control. It is an endocrine disruptor, and it is destroying us, women and men. So a lot of times we first have to remove it, right? Or it could just be modifying some things for like, well, I have to use this, finances, that type of thing. I'm like, plastic for cold items, stainless steel or glass for hot items. You never want to have hot heating up plastic. There's all these studies coming out about microplastics in the brain. I don't know if you've seen those.
Yeah.
I think it was like 100% of Alzheimer's dementia showed microplastics right around the plaques and stuff. So it's a huge issue that we have got to grip on it. But I will say this, I've done before and afters. So we do a toxin panel, we see what's in there, and then we'll do after 6 months later, all levels come down. All levels, every time. So there is hope. They call them forever chemicals, but your body can get rid of them. Even certain strains of probiotics like Bacillus subtilis can break down microplastics. So there are ways. I like a silica. I use like certain detoxes, like you want a zeolite, but you want to make sure it has trace minerals in it to prevent cell collapse. Things, they help bind and remove. So you definitely want to do that, but you can do a lot of it through food too. So you can detox through food. I truly believe food is medicine. That's what I believe. Food was created to provide us with energy, to heal our bodies, right? The way we abuse it today is quite the opposite, but that is what it's meant for. So like detoxing, usually I'm looking at herbs typically. That and fiber. Fiber is really good for detoxing too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know if that answered your question. I hope it did.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's hopeful that you're seeing improvements within 6 months.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
That's incredible to witness and just know that even if you're experiencing these symptoms, even if the toxins come back positive, just making diet and lifestyle and certain herbs and supplements can actually reduce that is really hopeful.
I remember the first time I did the after, I was so nervous because I was like, okay, and it's expensive. So I've had about probably 10 before, and some of them are full family afters. And that first one, I was like, I'm so nervous. The symptoms were beautiful. Like we had, and this is working with a child. And again, it's really with children, the symptoms are so wonderful to see because they don't have that outlying stressor. So it's just easier to kind of see symptom reduction with them a lot of times. But I was like, I really hope. And I remember opening up that first time, and I think I like cried a little bit. And I was just like, it works. It works. Like this can happen. We can detox. Our bodies can remove these forever chemicals, glyphosate. We can get rid of them. Heavy metals were I remember that burden. The glyphosate was really high. This particular athlete, high exposure to very green, clean fields.
Yeah.
So that was another thing that I always think about when I'm like on the sports fields. I'm like, oh, there's probably pesticides everywhere. But yes, it was interesting. But yes, there is hope. There is so much you can do. The body wants to heal.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about estrogen can look normal on blood labs, and you have these two people, and then you do their metabolites through the hormone zoomer, and two totally different responses. The metabolites, there's these different pathways that estrogen can go down. 1, 2, and 3. It's called 2OH, 4OH, 16OH. I think of it like you're traveling to California, you can go 3 different paths, right? So this is estrogen. It can go 3 different paths. It goes this really nice, beautiful, smooth path. You get there, you have the best time. Took you 3 days. It was easy peasy, great time. Then you have the second pathway. The second pathway is a little bit bumpy. It's like 10 extra hours. You might have to take more rest breaks, get more gas. And the third pathway is like super rocky. You get a flat tire, all these other things. Well, estrogen gets to choose which pathway it's going down. You want it to go down pathway 1, the 2OH. That's beautiful for balancing all your hormones. Now, if it goes down the intermediate one, some benefits, some minuses. Now, if it goes down the 16OH, you are more prone to imbalances, but also growth factor issues like breast cancer, fibroids. And the reason why it's choosing that path is because this one is congested. Just like if there was a traffic jam. I can't go that route because there's traffic. There was an accident. It's telling me you have a high toxic burden of some sort, or your liver is not, because that's where estrogen is metabolizes in the liver. You have a slow liver, a sluggish liver. It's not working. You have a traffic jam. It's overburdened by toxins. And so we have to remove those toxins. So you can because metabolites are kind of tricky to understand, but that's kind of an easy way to think about it. Traffic jam, you want to clear that traffic jam to allow for a really nice, smooth, enjoyable, balanced ride. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. That's what you'll get from the hormone zoomer, but not just estrogen. That's also going to show you progesterone, testosterone. So you can almost think of it like a family tree, and it's like mom, dad, pop up. Like it's like progesterone, estrogen, testosterone, and then you have all these beautiful metabolites, right? And we're trying to find a kink in the hose. Where is something not moving properly or getting nutrients, or why aren't nutrients getting here? What do we just need excess vitamin C? Do we need more I mean, it could be really simple. Sometimes it's complex, but it's typically, if you can see it, you can pinpoint. And it's beautiful. When you're balanced, it's beautiful. When you're not balanced, it's awful. And for everybody around you, right? For everyone.
Yes.
Yeah, I always tell women, I'm like, ask for it for your birthday. Tell your it's a present for you and your husband, right? Like,
Okay, one more little case study before we dive
yeah,
into the lightning round. All right.
yes.
So now we've got our mid 40s, nice
Okay.
lady, but she's got some terrible brain fog. She is
Okay.
exhausted. Her cycles are definitely irregular now. The
Yeah.
body aches, the weight gains. We know she's in perimenopause, but what? The blood work came back normal.
Uh-huh.
So the doctors are like, "You're fine." What are we testing?
We're going to do the hormone zoomer. We're going to look at the hormone zoomer because it's also going to look at endocrine disruptors too. So we'll start there. We could add on. What's nice, we could do all of them. You can do all of them. There's a nice deal going on. You can do all of them for like $12.50, I want to say right now. So you're getting like major discount. But I would start with the hormone zoomer because of her age, that perimenopause, and she's probably having some fluctuations. But I would also be like, I would do a full thyroid panel on her. I'd say TSH, T3, T4, TPO. We could even do a reverse. I would go there, and I would tell her, because of the joint pain, I would do a CRP, which is just going to check for inflammation, and an ANA, an autoimmune marker. So that I would just be like, go back, ask for these. Joint pain, I would say you have it in 2 places to get that ANA. Be like, I wake up and I'm stiff here and here. If you say 2 places, that's usually a good indicator to be tested for the starting ANA. And thyroid, if you need thyroid, you got to say hair's falling out, brain fog, big one, weight gain, cold hands and feet, which I also love to test an iodine with thyroid labs. So because we typically see low iodine, but I do have one particular client that has very high levels of iodine in her body. And this is important because a lot of people that take supplements for thyroid, they're going to have iodine in them. And if you throw in excess iodine, now you're going from Hashimoto's, and you're going to go completely the other way to Graves' disease. It's going to push you into Graves' disease. I'm trying to get all the doctors, like all the endocrinologists, I'm like, can we test an iodine, please? That is what I would do. Yeah.
Nice. I like it.
I like that too.
Yes. Which, by the way, that case study is very common. That is across the board. We are seeing that all the time and everything looks normal. So I also, vitamin D, you got to get your vitamin D levels checked. Okay. That one, almost every PCP will run. And let me tell you, 30 is not normal. We want it to be above 60. Okay. What we'll see with anything below 60 is where we can start to see inflammation, brain fog, even increased autoimmune disorders, lack of motivation. So we want vitamin D as a hormone. It's really important. So that's an easy one. They should be checking that every time. If you have any fatigue, I'd also ask for a B12 just to check that.
Yeah. I still notice a lot of doctors not testing vitamin D. And then one of my clients, I finally got her doctor to test and she was at a 15.
Oh, that is so common, by the way.
Yeah. And I was like, no wonder why X, Y, and Z is happening. Like 15 is so low. I'm like,
so low. And you need that hormone. We live in Wilmington, right? And I work with someone that their job is in the sun all day long, most of the year, not just in the summertime. It's more prevalent in the summertime just because that's when more people are out there. But vitamin D levels, below 20. It was below 20, So don't think, oh, I'm in the sun all day. I'm sure they're fine. I rarely see, actually, I'll be honest, like, I feel like I'm the only time I've seen a vitamin D over 60 is myself and like one or two other people. A lot of times it's still, I've seen them close. I've seen them in the 50s, but most are in the 20 to 30 range, I'd say. Now, your doctor will say 30 is normal. It is not. We're looking for optimal. Same with thyroid, by the way, like a TSH above 2, most people don't feel their best. Their metabolism isn't working as well. I find most people feel best between like a 0.9. I've seen people in the 4 range and their doctor's like, you're normal. I'm like, no. No, that TSH, that is a sluggish thyroid. So we want optimal. Same thing with B12, above 300 is normal. We want optimal. Above 500. I will say though, I've also seen excess where it's causing the same issues. So I've seen B12 in excess, which can mean 2 things. It's either not entering the cell properly and you're actually still deficient, or you're taking way too much. And it can cause the same symptoms as low B12. I've seen super high vitamin D levels. What's happening, some people are on so many supplements, which is problematic. And they all have, but this one has a ton of B12 in it. This one has a ton of B12 and this one does. And I've also seen B6 toxicity. So you also have to be careful. So I think it's good to test, right? Because toxicity, which means elevated, like above what we want to see, can also mimic the same symptoms of not having enough. So you have to be careful. It's all about balance. It's like salt on food, too little, doesn't taste good, too much, doesn't taste good. You got to eat supplements with that. The other thing I caution people, like, make sure your supplements are good. Make sure they're well tested, that you don't want them to be filled with junk or heavy metals or fillers. It's like trying to build a house with bad wood. You don't want bad supplements. You're not going to fix anything. In fact, you're going to create more issues. So if you are going to have supplements, they're supplemental, right? First, foundation first, diet, lifestyle. But that supplement, make sure it's high quality, okay? Really high quality. Otherwise, it's a waste of money and you actually could be causing more harm than good to your body. And we don't want that. Yeah.
I feel like so many clients come to us and they're on like 20 to 30 different supplements. I'm like, wait, please stop buying everything that you see online.
It's social media. It is social media. And I'm like, this is a problem. And so there are so many that I'm actually like, we're getting rid of this, especially when they're like the really junky ones and like not methylated, which can be, that's another thing you can test for MTHFR. Genetic disposition is really important to look at. It's usually like a $60 add-on for any of the testing I do, but it can show, if you can't methylate, and you're taking really crappy supplements, that's why you feel bad. Or you're eating a lot of processed food that has these fake vitamins, synthetic vitamins added into it, you're going to feel really bad. So yeah, I almost see a bigger issue when people are over supplementing. And they're almost using it as a cop-out, I think, too. So the foundation isn't quite there. I love supplements. I really do. Especially now, I think a lot of us, we need them to help. But they're supplements. Foundation first, add those in, make sure they're high quality. Otherwise, you're wasting your money and you're creating bigger issues down the road. Too many supplements, I see a lot of gut issues with too, because all the fillers, especially capsule ones, that can be problematic. But yeah, you want to make sure they're clean. And heavy metals.
Mm.
Lots of heavy metals can be in those supplements. So we want to make sure it's heavy metal. Third party test it is what you typically want to look for in a supplement.
All good. All excellent advice.
Yeah.
It is. It's a
Yeah.
lot. It's a very big overwhelm out there. So it's, if you can find a test, see what's really going on, start one thing at a time, work on those foundations, it makes such a big difference. And I feel like it should take the weight off, right? Because it's like, I don't have to take 20 supplements a day. I just need to focus on those foundations and see what's really going on and start with like one thing.
Yes, yeah. And a lot of, even when we start to add in supplements, a lot of times I start foundational and then we'll add in supplements. And I try not to do a lot at the same time because, especially if we're not testing, right? We have to see, is this working? Like ashwagandha is one that I love for cortisol. But guess what? Some people actually respond opposite to ashwagandha. There are some that do. So it's an adaptogenic, so it's supposed to help calm and it's supposed to help reduce cortisol. Most clients, it's very beneficial, but there are some that makes it wired. That's doing the opposite of what we want to do. So now if you're adding an ashwagandha and 5 other things are all in the same thing, it's really hard to tell what is helping your body versus hindering it. So I do think it's important. Always start foundation, trickle in, add in, almost like people do with like a baby. One food, how do you respond? See how you feel type of thing and go from there. And a lot of times I'm like always going back to the stress, which can be the hardest one to fix. But when you look at the blue zones or people that live the longest, they can even be smokers, but they're just happy. Happy people. It's happy people live the longest, which is socialize, play pickleball, mahjong, like find a hobby, give back to others. Sometimes that in itself is part of that healing process. Everyone's trying to look for something magical, but it's right here and it's free a lot of times. Not all of it, you might have to pay for some of it, but like you can do it for free. So it's not one thing, it's always a whole picture that we're looking at in terms of when we're trying to heal the body. So
I love that.
mhm.
So before we do a quick little fun lightning round, people know how they can find you and what free gifts you're going to give to everybody today.
Yeah. Okay. So you can find me on my website, ruppwellness.com. If you wanted to book, you can also book there. So I do virtual and I do in person. I work as a dietitian within the state of North Carolina and I accept insurance, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and United Healthcare, which is wonderful. And then outside of that, I can work as wellness consult in the other states. And of course, that can be virtual. On the web, you can also go on Instagram, Rupp Wellness. I post a lot there on the stories, all sorts of just kind of whatever's on my mind that day. I'll post and chat about. And then some free little goodies for you guys. If you go to the website, there are handouts and I put on there generalized protocols for you. So there's the Hashimoto's, there's just hormone balancing, seed cycling, fertility for men and for women. PCOS is on there. So you can they're usually just like $10 or $15, but you guys can get them for free.
Awesome. I'm going to go check those out.
I know.
Yeah.
Same. All right. Are you ready for the lightning round?
Yes. Okay. What is the lightning round?
It is just silly little questions to get to know you as a human being.
Okay.
They're very silly and there's no right answer.
Okay.
Yeah, go with your gut.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
What's your favorite junk food?
Ooh, okay. I love chocolate covered strawberries. I know it's kind of like fruit still, but chocolate covered strawberries. And I love caramel apples, chocolate caramel apples with peanuts on it. Those are like my go-tos. So yeah, I guess that's kind of junk, right?
Oh, yeah.
Kind of chips and queso, like, ugh, that's a weakness of mine too. So yeah.
What is your favorite TV series?
Oh, favorite TV series, Bridgerton. That was like hands down my favorite. I love it. I feel like that was like I was born in that era at one point in my life and I love it so much. So yes, that's 100% my favorite. Yeah.
Which season? I'm so curious.
Oh, I thought this season was good. I think last season, second season with, oh gosh, I don't know. I'm really bad with character names, but the redhead girl, she got together with, they're married now. They have kids.
Colin.
Colin, yes. I
Yeah.
just thought it was such a beautiful season and well written. And I was really, really into it. So that was my favorite. But I
Okay.
think they've all been good. They've all been great. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. They have all been great. They're all very different. So
They're very different. And I love how we get to see like one character throughout the whole show
yeah.
progress, you know, and their life. I mean, this last season was really good too. I was frustrated. I just wanted them to get together the whole time.
Yeah,
I
they
was
did
like,
a good
ah.
job in building up that frustration as a viewer.
Like I'm like, what? Come on. But it was fun. It was cute. I love anything romance. I'm a sucker for.
Oh, me
So
too.
yeah, I am like all in on the romance. So
I love
yeah.
it. What's a household item you can't live without?
Oh, probably like my automatic vacuum. Like the one I just press the button. That is that good? Yeah.
Yeah.
That and like that just because we have dogs and kids and friends and family and they're over all the time and it's just like it's the one thing that I need. It's just I just feel like it's messy. Now if we're talking like other things, I can't live without like now my filters, like my HEPA filters and RO water since we live in Wilmington. Those are like I feel like they're really needed here. But the everyday, I'm like that vacuum has to run. So yeah.
I love it. Do you nap?
No, I don't. I'm not a napper. But I think that it's okay to nap. Yeah,
Yeah.
if you need to, but I'm not. I believe wholeheartedly in 8 hours of sleep. You cannot optimize your hormones without that.
Yeah.
And whatever that means, like if you have to go to bed earlier and get up later. But now I really, honestly, at this point, I've gotten so tuned into my health that I probably have more energy now than I did in my 20s. My 20s were kind of a hot mess. Hormonally, I had PCOS, infertility, you know, all these things. And now I'm like, oh, I get it all now. But I think I've healed my body so much to this point where my energy levels are really good, consistent. I used to not do any caffeine at all. But if I need a little pick me up or something, I'll either, especially if I had a workout, I usually focus more on adrenals and that kind of helps. Or I do like I use a caffeine supplement. It's called like add your highest caffeine and it has adaptogens in it. So it's better for like cortisol and has more of like a energizing but calming effect. So no crash. So yeah, but I think it's okay to nap. I think you have to listen to your body. I think that's most important.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm a cyclical napper. I nap in luteal and menstrual, and then I couldn't nap if it was to save my life in follicular
Yeah.
ovulation. So I
Well,
feel
you
you.
know, 100%. And I'll adjust my workouts accordingly
Yeah.
too, based on that, because I know what my body needs.
Yeah.
And if you overdo it, and there's a lot of women, especially if you have autoimmune disorder, if you're overdoing it in certain stages of your cycle, it's actually harder to lose weight because your body's
Mhm.
in this high cortisol phase and it's kind of like wait we're going to hold on to everything that we have. So it's always about that balance and you have to, and women, because we are this lunar cycle, right, we have to really listen to our body based on that. And but yeah, so yeah, napping's okay.
Nice.
Hmm.
Where's your favorite vacation spot?
Oh, favorite vacation, well, I love Bald Head. I mean, Bald Head's right here. It's in our backyard. I love Bald Head because it's easy with the kids. You feel like you're, you know, you feel like you're in the islands and it's all golf carts. It's so just wonderful. It's quaint. You know, I love it. It's all nature. It's like one of my favorites to go to. We go often, but I also love skiing. So Park City is really great. That's been a lot of fun. So we took our kids out there last year and it was great. So I guess it depends on the mood. Do I want warm or cold? But yeah, those are like my two. Yeah, those would be my picks.
Oh, I love it. I still need to get bald head, but hopefully this summer.
You have to, and you're like right there.
I know. Need to
Yeah, you
go.
have to. It's really fun. It's so safe too, you know, which I just think is always nice with kids to go and you feel safe and they can kind of run around and yeah, it's lovely. Lovely, lovely.
Maria, thank you so much for joining us. Learned
Yeah.
so much. I definitely want to check out the Hormone Zoomer. So I'm super
Yeah.
excited to
Yeah.
dive into that at some point and talk to you
Yeah.
more about it when I actually do it.
It's so good. I think you would fall in love with it. And if you're, this one is also, I find more informative, but also easier to read. The Dutch is a little complicated to read. You want to make sure you're with a practitioner that knows, if you're going to work with them, that they know what they're reading. Because there's practitioners that order, but they don't know how to read the labs. And that's a problem. But this one, you could also do it. And what I do is I'll send you the copy that has recommendations. Still better for a practitioner to read it. But I mean, it's just beautiful. It is so wonderful. I love that they were so thoughtful, that they were like, hey, what's one of the biggest burdens on hormones today? Endocrine disruptors. We're going to add that into this test.
Yeah.
It's truly root cause. And
100%.
once you fix the root, everything else works itself out. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, we're just living in every year more and more toxic world. So it just makes so much sense to really have a test that can in one place versus I'm going to get the mold. I'm going to like get all these other tests. Yeah. Just in one spot.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish they had mold on here too, because that's a huge endocrine disruptor. Certain ones like ochratoxin A, which is in coffee, can be huge disruption. So I always talk about that too. If people drink coffee every day, one of the first things I'll say, switch to a mycotoxin free coffee. If it's something daily, if it's occasional, and hopefully your body. The other thing is, once you detox and you remove all this stuff, your body works so well optimally that you're able to flush toxins at a much higher rate too. So once you remove everything, you clean up your lifestyle. I don't know, have you seen like germ theory versus terrain theory? Have you ever heard of that? I mean, that's like how I look at it. And then you're exposed to a toxin. Well, guess what? Everything's gonna be flowing really nicely. Hopefully your lymphatic system's grooving, and it's just gonna remove it. Whereas right now, if you're overburdened, it has a hard time removing it, which is why you have these symptoms. So there's also hope. I feel like initially it's really good to be very like, okay, this is what we're doing. But once you get past that phase of removing everything, I go 90-10 rule, 80-20 rule. Because then we also want to reduce the stress too. So long term, it's really such a wonderful, life-changing thing that somebody can do. Not just for yourself, but for your children, future children. Because if you looked at my post today, I talked about the generational toxicity. So that's on my mind. But yeah, I think it's like happy, healthier, more stability. It's just a wonderful thing.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And for everyone listening, make sure you go check out Maria. She has so much great information and I love her stories. I'm always learning something new. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was so fun.
A big shout out and thank you to our sponsors for today's episode, Period Coaching School and Katie Bressek Wellness.
Thanks to you, our favorite bestie, for listening to the Period Besties Podcast, where no topic is TMI. And of course, share this episode with your besties.
Remember to leave us a 5-star review, nothing less than the best for us besties, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
You can follow us on Instagram at Stasha Washburn and at Katie Bressek, or email us at periodbestiespodcast@gmail.com.
Check out more about us at katiebressek.com and periodcoachingschool.com. And of course, check the show notes for free goodies and extras that support this episode.
We'll see you on the next episode.
Bye for now, besties.